Hello and welcome to the Getting Started with Bluebeam Revu webinar. My name is Scott Koenig and I'm a Senior Training Specialist with Bluebeam, and I'll be your guide today as we go through and take a look at Bluebeam Revu, a project efficiency and collaboration solution built for the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. So let's take a look at our agenda. This is a beginner level course. For those interested in learning more and diving deeper, we have many more webinars and training options available. So you can go to bluebeam.com and click the training banner to see some of those things available to you. Today, though, we will be focusing on the basics. We'll begin by discussing a little about us and our capabilities. We'll then get into the demonstration. Again, this is Getting Started with Revu. It's not intended to be an advanced training and is mainly designed to be more of an introduction for newer users. I will be going through many of the tools within Revu. However, this will not be a click-by-click training. With that said, there are plenty of opportunities for click-by-click training, and as I mentioned previously, please check out the training page on bluebeam.com. So a little about Bluebeam. At Bluebeam, a customer-focused philosophy is truly what drives us. We have over 15 years' experience of not only providing software for the industry, but partnering with the industry and listening to our customers to ensure we develop solutions that will move the industry forward. As a dedicated customer partner and industry advocate, we have Bluebeam user groups across 17 states. We partner with leading industry schools, and we work closely with trade unions to help equip the labor force with the tools they need to be effective contributors to the industry. We also sit on the board of the Construction Progress Coalition, a group of influential customers in the AEC industry, advocating for industry-wide adoption of standards and digital solutions. As I mentioned earlier, Bluebeam Revu is a project efficiency and collaboration solution for the AEC industry. What does that mean for you? Increased productivity, improved project predictability, and minimal risk. How, you might ask? Well, there are so many ways. Here's just a few. Best-in-class, industry-standard markup technology gets more usefulness out of your data. Our customizable tools to allow you to create processes specific to your work and your specialty. And improved collaboration extends quick access to project information for everyone. No one can work alone. But don't take it from us. Here's a few real-world customer results using Bluebeam Revu. First off, Las Vegas-based Steelman Partners was able to reduce their submittal turnaround time from 3 to 4 business days to just 24 hours. And UK-based Hilson Moran realized a 60% increase in productivity with faster communication. So let's get started. Now obviously in a 1-hour webinar, there's not enough time to show you everything, so keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and take a look at Revu itself. Now your first tip of the day is I'm actually in Revu's presentation mode. You can create slides, save them as a PDF, and open them in Revu. Hold your control button down, press enter, and you'll be in presentation mode. To get out of it, you can press escape. Many of Revu's tools are located within the different menus at the top. Throughout this webinar, we'll be touching on quite a few of these, from the Revu menu to File, to Document, Tools, and even the Help. Speaking of the Help menu, we wanted to ease the learning curve so that users can get up and running as quickly as possible. You'll notice that there is now a Welcome to Revu option. Keep in mind, this is the same screen that you're going to see when you open Revu for the first time. This welcome page includes a sample floor plan, including sample markups to help new users get a feel for how to work in Revu. When I select Launch Revu Tutorials, I have a choice of 6 tutorials. Each tutorial includes a brief video and some include sample files, providing a thorough view of what's possible in Revu. Another valuable tool within Revu are profiles. Profiles control your workspace and what is visible on your workspace so that you can work in the most efficient and productive way possible. Currently, Revu comes with 4 pre-built profiles. Revu, which is the default, Review Advanced, Quantity Takeoff, and Field Issues. You'll notice as I click through those, each one of those is changing my workspace, whether that's changing the panels that are open, changing which side those panel icons might be located on. It also controls my custom columns within my markups list, as well as what tool sets are available within my tool chest. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on Review Advanced. And you'll notice with this, there are multiple toolbars up at the top of the screen now, as well as some of my panel icons are split, some on the left, some on the right. I can also go in and create my own profiles by going into Profiles and saying Manage Profiles. Currently, this is my active profile. I can import them and export them to make it easier to share with my coworkers. I can also come down here, click Add, and go ahead and create my own. Now you'll notice that the active profile is the ABC Company profile I created. Now that I've created that, I can go in and customize some of my profile needs. For example, maybe my toolbars. Maybe I don't need all those toolbars at the top. So I'm going to go to my Tools menu up there and come down to Toolbars. Maybe turn some of them on, turn some of them off. I'm going to go ahead and remove the Advanced toolbar. We'll take out the File toolbar, Measure, and Sketch. And maybe rotation as well. Shapes and text, I definitely want to leave there for my markups. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the status bar at the top as well. Again, you can add whatever toolbars based on what you need. I might even turn on my edit toolbar. I'm not sure about you, but the undo button is probably the greatest software invention ever. So, now that I have my tools customized, I have my panel and things where I need them, I want to get in there and look at Review More. Now that I have my toolbars selected and I have things set up the way I want them, now let's go in and continue to look at the interface. There are 3 panels within Review. There's a left panel, which I can click on, blue line going from the top to the bottom. You'll see that open up there. A right panel, which I can come to the right side of my screen and go ahead and click on that to expand that panel. And there's a panel down at the bottom. This panel at the bottom is the markups list, and we'll talk a lot about that a little later. Each of these panels can be changed by just clicking and dragging. They can also be closed just by simply clicking on them. Now on each side of the screen, you'll notice these panel icons. Panel icons are completely customizable as well, as far as you can take them from one side of your screen to the other. Again, whatever is easiest for you working within Review. If you hover your cursor over top of them, you'll notice that a window will pop up and you can see what exactly that panel icon does. Now, we don't have time to go through all of them today, but we will touch on a few of them. Also, if you'd like to hide those panel icons, maybe you don't want them out there on your screen while you're working, you can right-click down in the area here below. You can auto-hide panel access, and that'll hide those panel icons until your cursor goes closer to them. Or if you're looking for something specific, you can go to Show in that same right-click option and see any one of the 17 different panel icons that are available. Let's take a look at one of those icons now, and we'll look at File Access. Now, File Access is tied into Windows Explorer in the fact that it actually remembers some of your recent files. And so you'll notice down here at the very bottom, you see Recents. And I have 2 files that are in there. Well, when I point to one of them, a thumbnail tab is going to open up, and that thumbnail tab is going to show me a preview of that file, as well as the path to where that file is located. Now, if I want to open that particular file, I can just click on that thumbnail, and that file opens up for me in Review. You'll notice when I did open that file that now it's at the top of my Recents, and it's bold. The reason it's bold is because that file is open. The reason it's at the top now of that list is because of the way I have it sorted. You'll notice this little icon here in the right corner. When I click on that, those are my sorting options. I can sort by date, sort by folder, so what folder is that file located in, most accessed, so which files do I access the most, and access history, so which ones did I access yesterday versus today versus last week, last month, and so on. I also have the ability to pin these files. If I point to that particular file, not only do I get the thumbnail, but I get that push pin at the end. If I click on that, I can pin the file to the top, which will allow me to then sort that based on some of the sorting options in that area, or I can also pin them to categories. Now, categories allows me to create the categories for the different classes that I train. This could be different projects. It could be any reason that you might categorize files and put them together. The key is it doesn't actually move the file. You're simply creating a link, a shortcut link, to that particular file so that you can get to it in one click versus going to the open option and then searching for where that file might be located. To create a new category, you just click New Category down here at the bottom, give it a name, and then you'll be able to see that category listed here. I'm just going to go ahead and click Pin File for now, and that'll pin it up at the top. You'll notice again I have sorting options here by date, by folder, and alphabetically. Your categories are automatically sorted alphabetically based on that category name. And you'll notice I have it by folder up at the top. If I look at that particular file, I see this path to where this particular file is located. I can also, if I want to get to that particular folder, rather than trying to remember this, or in my case, write it down because I can't remember all those folders to open, I can just click on that folder and it'll automatically open up that particular folder so I can go find another file maybe in that same folder. If I want to, I can also, in my recents, I can actually right-click on any file and open a folder as well. Let's go ahead and close this file, and I'm going to open up a couple other files, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the workspace options. So I'm going to open up 3 different files here. I'm going to close that left panel for now as we give us more room on our screen. And you'll notice that I have 3 tabs open up here, and these are the 3 different files that I open. So Revu works with a tabbed workspace. Tabs, if I need to, I can move those around, just click and drag. I can take them to another monitor if I want to. Down here at the bottom, since I turned on that toolbar, I have those split screen options here. I can split vertically. I can also split horizontally. I can split my screen up to 16 times if I want to. Let's say, for example, I have my spec sheet here, and I want to go ahead and split my screen vertically. And so I have my floor plan open over here on the left. I have my spec sheet open over here on the right. Let's say I want to go ahead and I want to split this screen horizontally as well. I can come down here, split horizontally, and now I have 2 screens over there. I can also open up a web tab. So if I right-click next to any of these, I can go to Web tab. My system happens to be defaulted to Bluebeam.com. So I can go in there. You'll notice I have up at the top an address bar if I wanted to. Maybe I need some California building codes, so I can go out to the California building code site, just simply type in the address, or I can go to Google and run a search, and I can pull those up. And so now I can increase my efficiency and my productivity by having all these tools right here at my hand without actually leaving the software. And if I want to, I can even come up here and I can create favorites, as well as change my home page if I need to. I'm going to go ahead and close this bottom tab here. I'm going to leave this top tab open, but I'm going to go ahead and bring my second floor plan over and move it there. So now I have my first floor plan on the left. I have my second floor plan over here on the right, and I want to do a simple side-by-side comparison of the two. Now, if I'm looking at this second floor plan, you'll notice that there's a canopy here. And so maybe I'm not sure what's under that canopy. What is under the canopy on the first floor? Now, yes, I could use my grid lines and I could probably line these papers up or pages up and get an idea of what that canopy is over. Or what I can do is I can use Revu's sync option. So down here I can click sync. and it syncs my drawings together. And so now as I zoom in on the right, you'll notice it's zooming in on the left as well. And I can see that that patio is under there. As I zoom out of one screen and move that screen, it's going to automatically zoom in, zoom out on the other screen as well. Now this is one way to be able to do a simple comparison of some floor plans. Sometimes that might work. Sometimes, though, that may not work as well. And so we also have a couple other ways to do some comparisons. Those comparisons might be a little more difficult to view than just maybe what's under a canopy, so to speak. Especially if you're looking at revisions. So I'm going to go ahead and close these two sheets and let's look at some revisions. So I'm going to go into our Compare Documents feature. So I'm going to come into our Document menu, and down there in the middle, you'll see Compare Documents. And it's going to ask me what two documents do I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click the little button there to open. And I'll go out and find the files I want. And so there's my first floor plan. And I'll come down here to my document B and I'll get my revision. So you see that Rev 1 there. Now in this Compare Documents window, down here at the bottom, I can tell the review, split screen and view, and synchronize. So what I wanted to do is I actually wanted to split the screen and sync the two drawings together so I can see what those differences are. I'm going to click OK. Review is going to go in there and compare the two documents. And notice all the differences that are clouded. And so you see that we kind of took in some rooms. We added some rooms in this office area here. And so that's where the clouds are showing. Now, Compare Documents will take two documents. It'll cloud the differences as you see here. Now what that does is because it actually clouded those documents, in our markups list, we can see all those clouds that were added. So by using Compare Documents, you can compare two documents and actually see the differences clouded. You'll see the differences clouded, and you'll also get metadata in your markup list to show you that. Now there's another comparison tool available as well. I'm going to go ahead and close this left revision, the clouded one. No, I'm not going to save it. And I'll go ahead and go back into the document menu and then into Overlay Pages. Now, Overlay Pages works very similar to a light table, where you put two documents, one on top of the other. So I went ahead and selected that revision. You'll notice by default they're red and green. So my original is going to be in red. My revision is going to be in green. If I don't want to use those colors, I can go ahead and select it and modify it if I need to. And so I can change those colors as needed. Now, Overlay Pages, as I said, works as a light table. What this does is it actually changes the vector data on the drawing. The content layer changes the color of that information, lays it right on top of each other. Anything in black is going to be on both drawings. Anything in red is from the original, and anything in green is from the revision. So let's go ahead and click OK. And we'll see that in there. And so here are those offices. So you see the green offices, those are from the revision, the new floor plan that came in. Again, everything in black is on both documents. And so we get a nice view of that. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Overlay Pages will not show anything in your markup list. Because again, you're not actually placing a cloud or any markups on the drawing. Where Compare Documents does show you that information, Overlay Pages does not. Also, Compare Documents allows you to compare two documents at once, where Overlay Pages you can compare multiple documents at once. And not only that, I can come over here to the left on my panel icon, I can turn on the Layers panel, and I can turn on and off layers. So for example, we saw these offices here. If I want to, I can turn off the revision by clicking on the eye, and now you see your original document. Again, the original did not have those offices in there. But when I turn my revision back on, now I see those offices. And if I want, I can turn off the original and now just see my revision. Now, one of the best features in Revu is the ability to mark up drawings digitally. So let's take a look at those markup tools. So we have a drawing. I want to go ahead and start adding some markup tools. Those markup tools can be found in a couple places. First of all, in the Tools menu, you'll see Markup, and you'll see all those options there. And you'll also notice these hotkeys. For a while, you may need to go into Tools and Markup and then select which markup you want, or you may start getting used to the different hotkeys, which means for a text box, all I have to do is press the letter T on my keyboard, and it'll automatically put me into that text box mode. Now, another way we can access those tools, or those markup tools, is within the toolbars if I turn on my shapes and my text. And so I have those turned on, and so I'll have those available for me up here at the top. And so you'll see some of the different ones. And again, if I point to it, it'll show me what that is. So let's say, for example, I'm working on these stairs. So let me go ahead and zoom into these stairs. And as I zoom into these stairs, I want to put a text box on there. And so I'm going to come up here to my tools, and I found my text box. And I can click on that and just click and drag to create it. And then I can go ahead and type in my information, what I need. So I'm going to need details on stairs. So I go ahead and type that in. You'll notice that now that I have it created, it's still selected. And I have these control points that I can go ahead and change the size of it if I want to. I can also change some other attributes to it. I can change the angle, let's say. Maybe I want it to be a little angled there. I can move it around if I need to. But also with the markups is the ability to change the properties. Now typically within the design review process, everyone's assigned a color, and so a lot of times we'll see markups out there and the different colors will be assigned to different project partners. So now that I have it selected, as soon as I created this markup, you'll notice up at the top I now have the properties toolbar where I can go in and I can change some of these properties. So I'll start out here far left. I can click that drop down arrow there and you're going to see subject. Now subject by default goes to whatever tool we selected. Changing it's going to provide you the ability to filter and sort your data within the markups list. It's also a very powerful tool within the markups list because you can utilize it in custom columns as well. And so we'll see that a little later. So I'm going to go ahead and change that subject, and I'm going to change this subject to contractor. Now, if I did have layers set up in this, I could go ahead and I can add layers, or even from here I can create new layers if I wanted to. I can set as default, and I can add this to my tool chest if I want to. We'll come back to adding to our tool chest, but it is a very important feature. Let's continue on. So I'm going to change the line color here. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and make the line a pastel red. My fill color I'll change pastel yellow here. I'll go ahead and I can change the shape if I want to. Font. I can auto size my text, or I can auto size my text box. So I can actually click on that and it'll nice and neat make my text box there. I can come in here and change the color of my font. Let's go ahead and change that to black. So there's the text box. All right, let's go ahead and add in a callout. So I have some boxes over here, some equipment that I'm just not really sure what these are. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask someone to label that. So I'm going to use the callout for that. Now the callout there has a hotkey of Q, so I can go ahead and click on that. The callout's a little different, where the text box we just drew clicked and dragged to draw the rectangle. The callout actually starts with the arrow. So I'm going to point to that particular box first and then click and drag my mouse to start there. And I really just want somebody to label this equipment. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. And again, I have my properties up at the top. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say this one actually, subject is going to be architect. And let's see, let's change my lines here as well. As I come down, my fill color, Again, we'll auto size that text box, and I'll change my font color again to black, easier to read. Now another thing I can do is I can actually add leader lines. So if I right click on that markup, you'll notice I have the ability to add leader lines here. Leader lines are great when it comes to these callouts. Again, I can easily just go ahead and add those in. All right, so there's a couple markups. Let's take a look at this electrical room. So I have this door here, and I need to actually add a double door, and I need to let somebody know because the electrical equipment just not big enough, or is just way too big, and the door's not going to work. So I want to go ahead and use a Cloud Plus for this one. And so I'm going to come up to the top, grab my Cloud Plus. Again, if I need to, I can go to Tools and Markup and Cloud Plus. And this time, rather than clicking and dragging to draw a perfect cloud, which I could, I can actually just kind of single click, and that allows me to draw different polygon shapes. When I'm done and I want to connect the last two, I can just double click and it will connect those for me. Again, add double doors for electrical equipment. All right. Again, I can go through and I can change my properties. So I'm going to change my subject here to engineer. And I'll change my cloud to blue. And I can change even my cloud style, the lines there. I can change my fill color. You'll notice it actually painted right over top of it. So there's an option here to highlight. So I can do that. I can also change the fill opacity. If I'd rather just soften that color just a little bit, I can do that. I can change the line color as well. We'll just go ahead and make that blue also. And then I can come over here. And now we're looking at the actual callout. So you notice we had properties for the cloud and now properties for the callout. So I can go ahead and change that fill color as well, just keeping in line. I can go and auto size that text box and change my font color to black. And you'll notice that if your screen is not wide enough, you can just simply point to that. I'm not actually clicking, just pointing, and Revu will move that properties toolbar for you. So let's say we were out on a punch walk, and we're coming over to this telecom wall here, and I realize that, hey, you know what, there's some really bad wall damage here. So maybe I want to highlight that wall and actually, since I took some pictures of it, I want to attach some pictures in there. So I'm going to come up here. I have a highlighter option. I have a highlighter and a pen. Just so you know, if we want to highlight or pen, use either one of them. That works great, but you do need to, if you hold your shift button down, you can actually draw a straight line. That works really, really well. You can actually only draw vertical or horizontal lines straight. You can't actually do angles. So keep that in mind. But again, if you're using the pen or the highlighter, you can hold your shift button down to draw a straight line. So I went ahead and did that. I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to come up here to my properties toolbar, change that subject. I'm going to go ahead and change that to contractor as well. And so there's a couple ways I said, or there's a couple ways to insert images. And I said that I was out there, I saw this wall, it's in pretty bad shape, and I took a couple pictures. Now I can come up here to my toolbar, and again, I can go ahead and insert an image, and then click on that, and I can go out and I can find my images that I have saved, because again, I took the pictures. And so I can grab an image, and now I can click and drag to put it on my document. Now, one of the issues with doing that is you'll notice it covers content. And so I could probably find a place somewhere on my drawing where maybe not a lot is going on, and I could put it there, but then I'd have to draw an arrow and do that. Completely fine, you can do that. Revu allows you to put those images on there. However, there is a feature that is exclusive to Bluebeam Revu that we can also utilize. So rather than adding the image and covering up some content, I can right-click on my markup, and I can utilize the capture tool. Now within capture, you have two options, from your camera or from your file. Since I did take the pictures, and I saved those pictures, I can go ahead and grab it from File. From Camera is really great though. If you're out on a punch walk, you can actually go ahead and take the pictures on an iPad. You can open Revu, add your capture, and take the pictures right there, or even a video, and put that on there, attach it to that markup. So I'm going to go ahead and select from File. And so there they are. I'm going to grab both of them actually and click Open. And that's what you're going to see. So again, this is exclusive to Bluebeam Revu. If I click on this, it'll open up those pictures in whatever my default picture viewer is on my computer. And so I can see that, and I can go ahead and scroll through those pictures as well and see the damage that I saw. To close it, I just click outside of it, and that's all I'm going to see on this. Now, the nice thing about this is, again, it doesn't take up a lot of space. It doesn't cover any content. It allows you to see that. Now, as I said, it is only for Bluebeam Revu, which means if I send this file to someone else that does not have Revu, they won't be able to see those images. However, within the markups list, we can create a summary report that includes those images in an addendum. So there is a way to send those to people that don't have Revu. So now that we went out and we actually looked at these great tools, it would be nice to go ahead and save these tools somewhere. Really so that we don't have to go through the process of creating them again, changing their properties again. And the tool chest is what allows us to do that. So we can save them, use them again on this drawing or this project, or any drawing or any project we're working on in the future. So I'm going to come over here to the left, and my tool chest looks just like a little tool chest. And I'll see that there. I'm going to go ahead and click on that to open it. Again, I can make it wider if I need to, or shorter. In the tool chest, you'll notice that there are some tool sets already available. First off, we have My Tools. You'll see some My Tools in there that are already by default there. You'll notice the hotkeys. So again, those are hotkeys. If I needed to use this red pen, I could just press the number 3 and start writing on my drawing. If I want any of my tools in there, I can just drag them in there and a hotkey would be assigned to them. Recent tools are all the things that we've done thus far, anything that we've added. Now, recent tools will reset after you close Revu, so it'll be gone and you won't have those tools anymore. So that's why it's a good idea to go ahead and save them. You'll also notice that there are some pre-built tool sets in here, and you'll see architecture or architect Revu, as well as engineer Revu, general measurements, and some others as well. Now we can turn those on and off based on the need for those particular things. Up here at the top, I have a drop-down arrow next to Tool Chest. If I click on that, you're going to see all the different tool sets that are available. They're all turned on right now, and again, these are available in this profile. So each profile might have a different set of tool sets that you have available to you. But I can always go to Manage Tool Sets. And when I go into Manage Tool Sets, it allows me to create my own tool set, as well as turn on and off some other tool sets if I need to. For example, I have all these other tool sets on. I'm going to go ahead and turn them off because the one I want to focus on is the one I'm going to create. So I just simply turn them off. Down here I can import and export tool sets, so this is really great again to be able to share with your coworkers those particular tool sets. I can click Add, and when I click Add, I can go ahead and title it. You'll notice that you can have it display, which is what I want. I want it to show up here. I can show it in all my profiles. So if this is a tool set that you're creating and tools that you want available in every profile, you can leave that checked. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck it here. But again, you can create profiles for separate job functions, and those tools for that particular job function can be in that profile. And then relative path, we just tell everybody, by default, you really should leave that on. It's probably just a good idea. It just makes sure that everything works the way it's supposed to. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now this is the part where I tell people, let Revu do the work. Too many times we think, okay, if I want to share this with my coworkers, I need to make sure I know where Revu is putting this so that I can go in and find it and then send it out. You know what? You don't. Don't worry about it. I'm going to show you a really fast way to export it. You don't even have to know where Revu's putting it. And so I'll show you that in a second. So I'm just going to click Save, and I suggest that you would do the same as well. So there's my tool set. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now I don't have any tools in there, but I need to get my recents in there. And there's 3 different ways to get your tool sets or your tools into your tool set. First way is to click and drag. So I have my engineering cloud there. I can just simply click and drag that from my recents, drop it into my tool set, and it's there. And now it's going to be saved. So as I go through and as I close review, reopen review, I'm going to see that in there. So that's one way to bring your tools into your tool set. Another way is I can actually go and right-click on a markup in the drawing. So I can right-click here, and I can say down here, Add to Tool Chest. So I can go ahead and do that, and there it is. The third way you can do it is actually in the Properties toolbar, and we saw that earlier when we clicked on that drop-down. If you remember the very beginning drop down there, we went in and changed the subject, but there at the bottom we see Add to Tool Chest. So we have the ability to go ahead and add it there as well. So again, 3 different ways to add in those tools. Let's say, for example, I'm down here and I'm looking at this, there it is, this elevator maintenance room here. And I think, you know what, I want to change that elevator maintenance room to a storage closet. And so I think I want to use my Cloud Plus. Now, you'll notice that these symbols actually look a little different here. One of them looks like a Cloud Plus symbol, and you see the blue line and the light blue inside and the black text. Some of them actually look exactly the same as the first time I drew them. If I wanted to use a callout, if I click on that, you'll notice that as I bring it out, it's the same exact thing. This is called drawing mode. Drawing mode will draw the exact same thing that you drew the first time. Now, it's not necessarily something that you're going to want to use all the time, but it does come in handy if you're creating the same exact markup for several locations within your drawing. So drawing mode, again, is the same exact thing, where properties mode, which is what you see here for this Cloud Plus, will allow you to use the same properties but redraw your own markup. And so I can go ahead and use that one in this particular time. Now, if for some reason I wanted to use, let's say I wanted to use that callout, but I didn't want to use drawing mode because, again, I don't want to have to take out the leader lines and then change label equipment. I want to change it from drawing mode to properties mode. I'm just going to double click in my tool set. If I double click, now you'll see that symbol changed. It's a callout, red fill, black text. Now I can come out here and I can simply draw my arrow or my callout. So again, drawing mode will draw exactly the same thing you drew originally. Properties mode, double click on it. Properties mode allows you to keep the same properties but to change the actual size and text within the markup. Now, any markup that is placed on a drawing is tracked within the markups list, along with all the graphical markup content that goes along with that markup. So I mentioned earlier, and I kind of showed you this bottom panel down here is the markups list. So I can click on that. Now, if you have a hard time clicking on that particular line there, there's also a markup list icon over here on the left. Sometimes that's a little easier. I can click on that to expand it, and I can bring that up. Now, down here in the markups list, you'll notice that we can do a few things. We can sort based on a particular column just by simply clicking on that column. I can also make my columns wider if I need to see that data that's in there. So again, I can sort by subject just by clicking on subject. I can also filter. So if I turn on my filter button, I can go ahead and filter and say, I just want to see my contractor information. And so there you see that. You'll notice on my drawing, everything that is in color is what is being showed. Everything gray has been filtered out. And so Review will automatically do that. I can go ahead and turn off that filter as well. I can create custom columns. So next to my markups list, you see this drop-down arrow. I can go to columns. Here's all my columns that are on right now, and I can simply turn them on, turn them off, depending on which ones I want. And then I can come down here to the bottom and select Manage Columns, which allows me to go in and create custom columns. Custom columns can be created for formulas, for multiple choice, for text, dates, numbers, all kinds of things. And you'll notice that you can also save those custom columns to the profile. So every time you open the profile, again, you're going to have all the tools you want because you saved those tool sets to the profile. And you'll have all your custom columns already built, ready to go. You can also import and export comments. So for example, if I open up a different file here, and let's say that I have this file open, there's nothing in the markups list. You see that there's no markups here, but I want to go ahead and bring in the information that maybe a few of my project partners sent to me. So I can go to that markup list, drop down again, and I can go to markups, and I can say import, and I can go find those files that they sent back to me. And so there they are. And I'll go ahead and open those. And so Revu will go through, import all those markups, put them on my drawing, and notice they're all in my markups list, all the details that I need. If I go ahead and close this markup list, you'll see the drawing, and now there are all my markups that I imported in. Now, I mentioned earlier, I can also, within my markups list, create a summary report, and you see that option here. If I click on that, you'll notice we can do CSV or XML. Those are both Excel summaries. I can go ahead and select the PDF summary, which is near and dear to our heart. Once we go into this, you'll notice that we can go in and change the columns and select which columns we actually want to show on our particular report. I can change my filter and sort options. So if I didn't filter anything out and I realize, oh, I really should have before this report prints, because maybe I don't need all of this stuff showing, I can do that. I can also come to my output. I can append and hyperlink to the current PDF. So that's always something, if we're doing a PDF report, we always say that's probably a great option to have, because it's actually going to attach this as a second page to this drawing, and then that way the information will be linked together. I can change the title to it. I can come down here and I can go ahead and click on the options button down here. And if you remember earlier, I mentioned that little icon that is specific to or exclusive to Revu only, the capture tool. I can come in here and say, please include capture media addendum and attach the media as linked files. So again, this is the ability to go ahead and send that report out to my partners that maybe they're not using Revu, and they'll still be able to see those pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK here. Before I click OK, I can also save this configuration if I want to, and I can load a previous configuration. So you don't have to go through this every single time. Revu allows you to save it. So I'll go ahead and click OK. It'll create my report, and there it is. So you see my report here, my markup summary. As I kind of come down here, you'll notice this hyperlink here. So this is where the attach to the PDF and hyperlink is kind of helpful. I can click on that, it takes me right to that particular wall, and I can see that there. I can then go ahead and go back to my report, and you'll notice that over here on the right of that, I have this picture here, and you'll notice as I point to it, it's also a link. So I click on that, it's going to take me to the capture media summary. So I can see here's that picture, and then here's the other picture. So again, if I'm working with people that don't have Revu, I can still send them those pictures and they'll still have that information. I can click on this link here, it takes me back to my report, and then I can click that link to get back to the actual document. Now, thus far, we've looked at a lot of single-page documents. What about working with multiple-page documents? So I'm going to go ahead and close these files. And nope, we don't need to save them. And I'm going to open up another file called the Airport Project. The Airport Project is a multiple-page document. And so let's talk a little bit about what we can do with this 64-page document. Most of the things we can do are found within the thumbnails panel there. So I click on that. you'll see my thumbnails. If I expand this out, I can see 2 pages. I can actually go down to just see 1 page if I want to. And so I see my thumbnails there. Now, there are a number of things we can do with them. The first thing, though, is that you probably noticed that these pages are not labeled. And actually, they're labeled. One, you got numbers, you got some that are letters, you got some that are actual sheet numbers, and then you have some Roman numerals. So probably not the best way to set this up. So next to the Thumbnails tab, you'll notice that we have this drop down, and we see a lot of different options in here. Now, those same options can be found if we right-click as well, and so you'll see all those options there. Up here at the very top, you'll notice that we have 2 buttons. One says Show Page Label and one says Create Page Labels. Now, I can create page labels manually if I want to, or I can create them using this Create Page Labels. Now, there's 64 pages, probably a little faster for me to go ahead and use Revu's Auto Mark feature, which is what this allows me to do. Clicking on that brings up my dialog box. I'm going to go ahead and use the page region and say Select. And so there's nothing really on this first page that allows me to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my next page. And there we go. So I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab that page number. And so that's great. I can go ahead and add if I wanted to add the sheet name to or the sheet title. I'm just going to go ahead and use the sheet number. Click OK. It's going to ask me, do I want all pages or custom range pages or just the current one? I'm going to say all. That's good. Click OK. Revu is going to go through. It's going to look at every single page in that section, and it's going to pull all that information back and label my pages for me. And you'll see that in the Thumbnails tab. And there we go. So now you see my pages are labeled. But again, one page did not get labeled, and that was my cover sheet there, and that's simply because there was nothing in that area for Revu to grab. So I can manually change that just by double clicking on that page label and then typing in whatever I want to type in to name it and press enter, and now I see my labels. So now that we've labeled our pages, you may want to move throughout the drawing in a much faster way. With the Revu Extreme Edition, we have a feature called Batch Link that helps out with that. So we're going to create hyperlinks for all these pages. To utilize Batch Link, I'm going to go to my Batch menu at the top, and I'll come down here to Link, and I'm going to say New. Now in here, I can add open files, which is what I want to do, so I'm going to bring those open files in there. I can also add other files and so on, but I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And now I want to go ahead and tell Revu how I want it to look up these particular sheets. So I'm going to use that page region again and go ahead and click Select. Now again, there's nothing on this page region. My page forward tools are in this little drop down. That's simply because I'm on a laptop right now. And so I'm going to go ahead and go to the next page. There it is. Zoom in there to tell Revu, hey, this is what we're dealing with. These page or sheet numbers. There we go. So that's what I want. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Takes me back in there. That's great. I set up the page region, so this is my search terms that I'm looking at. My link options down here, I'm going to come down here and tell Revu I want you to include appearance properties because I want to be able to see it. I'm not real fond of the yellow. I'm going to use a green there, and I'm going to use a highlight. And I want to flatten that highlight so I don't accidentally move it, just to be safe. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I got my link options set, and now I'm going to go ahead and tell Revu to generate. So what Revu's doing now is it's looking in that corner, and again, it's looking at that sheet number, and it's looking for those particular pages. Now, it's not just looking at page numbers, it's also looking at all the detail markers that are in this 64-page drawing. And it's going in and it's bringing back the search terms. So it's saying, okay, this is what I found. Is this correct? And so I'm going to scroll down through this, make sure all these sheet numbers are correct, and look, okay, well, there's one that actually has 2 of them in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that second one. That looks good. Let's go ahead and scroll down. We have some problems here. Multiple entries with this search term found. They both have the same number. Now, I know because I've looked at it several times, you basically have one side of that particular floor plan and the other side, it was just too big to put on one floor plan. But I know I can get to the second one if I get to the first one because I can easily scroll forward. So I'm just going to go ahead and right-click on that, and I'm going to say Remove so there's no issues there. and scroll down the rest. Everything else looks great. Wonderful. So now I'm going to tell Revu, run. Revu is going to go through and it's creating hyperlinks. So again, it's looking at all the sheet, looking for the sheet numbers throughout the entire 64-page document. So in all the detail markers, it's going to find those, going to create hyperlinks to those pages or to those sheets. And it just added 575 hyperlinks. Now, that was literally less than a minute. Again, you try to do anything with 575 items in less than a minute, and I will be impressed. So I'm going to go ahead and click Finish and Close. I'm going to go back to my cover sheet, and you'll notice that the hyperlinks are out there. So we can test some of these. I can come up here to A110, click on that. There's the A110. If I scroll in, go ahead and click on that one. That takes me to A111. From here, I can go ahead and zoom in again. There's A711. Go ahead and there's a detail sheet for my exterior plan details. And it looks like I got something else, A707, another detail sheet for my window details. So again, all those links, if I ever want to go back home, I can go ahead and just push home on my keyboard, right back to my cover sheet. And now I can go and utilize those links. Now working with multiple pages, multiple page documents is nice sometimes, but sometimes that file size can hinder some of the work we do out in the field. So if you're using, and also if you're using Studio projects, and let's say you need to work on one sheet of a large file, if you check that file out, no one else can check that file out until you check it back in. That's kind of how Studio projects works. Revu offers the ability to extract pages of this document to work with each sheet individually, which kind of helps keep that from happening. And also out in the field, those files tend to render faster because you're dealing with one sheet, not 64 pages. So if we want to go ahead and extract pages, again, we can go ahead and click that thumbnails drop down there, or we can right click either one inside that thumbnails tab. And so I'll go ahead and select extract pages. So I'm going to say, what pages do I want? I can just extract the one page if I need to, or even a custom range of pages. But I'm going to go ahead and say all 64. Now, do I want to delete the pages after extracting? No, I want to keep this one intact, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. Do I want to extract the pages as separate files? Yes, I do want to do that, so I'll go ahead and select that. Use the page label to name the files. Well, we just do not have enough time in this webinar for me to name 64 files, so let's go ahead and do that. Override anything that might be in that those existing files. I'm going to go ahead and do that even though I know there's nothing in that folder. Do I want to open the files after extraction? No, not really. I don't really want to open 64 different files. You might use that if you're extracting maybe a couple pages. You just want to work on those 2 pages. And this one's a good one. Update hyperlinks to relative paths. Again, we're going to keep this checked because what that's going to do, all those wonderful hyperlinks we just created, it's going to keep them intact even though they're going to be in separate files. Revu is going to change them all to relative paths so that they still work. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It's going to ask me where do I want to put this. I just happen to have a folder for it. Nothing in there, so I'll go ahead and select that folder, and then Revu will go through and extract those pages. And just like that, it did it. If I open up my Windows Explorer and I go into that extract pages, there they all are. And you'll notice the file size is much smaller than the overall airport file size, airport project, which is right here. So again, a little smaller files, faster to render out in the field. Works a little quicker in that aspect. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this file. One last thing I want to touch on today. There are team collaboration tools built right into Revu. Revu comes with what we call Studio, which includes document management in Studio projects and real-time collaboration features, Studio sessions. Now, Studio Projects is a single centralized location to store documents, even entire building projects, in the cloud. And Studio Sessions lets project teams review, markup, and update the same files at the same time, allowing partners worldwide to connect on the same set of documents. So let's go ahead and take a look at Studio. The Studio panel icon is right there. And up here at the top, I can go ahead and log in to that. So it went ahead and logged me in. When you click that login button, again, that little plug, it's going to bring you a lot of times to a login page, at least the first time you go in. Your email address is going to be your login user ID, and then you do have to create a password for it. It is included in all editions of Revu, so you don't have to worry about that, but you do need to create a separate account, so to speak, for it. You'll see an option in there that says create account. It'll walk you through it and do that. But again, it's nothing additional. It's included within Revu. So let's start with Studio Projects. So you'll notice up here at the top next to Studio, I see Studio Projects and I see Studio Sessions. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Studio Projects. And so I can go ahead and click on the airport project. That's the one I'm going to go ahead and open. And so as I open that up, you'll see I just have my airport project folder. Now again, I can click this drop down arrow here and see the additional folders in there. If I go ahead and click on that particular folder, I'm going to see multiple folders here. The great thing is we can have multiple projects open at once. If I clicked on another project over here, it would open up in another tab up here so I can utilize that. Now, projects works on what's called a one-to-one basis. So if you need to make changes to a file, you would actually check that file out, make those changes. No one else can check out a file while you have it checked out. They'll be able to open a read-only copy of the file until you check the original back in. And this saves the problem of having several people working on a document ending up with several different versions of it. You can share files with others without giving them access to your network, and even you can even not give them access to the project itself. You can set permission levels for access at the project level and even at the folder level. You can even take a file from a project and start a studio session if collaboration is needed. So we're in this project. You'll notice that we now have project settings. And so you'll see in this project settings folder, we have our general user. These are really your permission levels. General has your project name and project ID number, as well as your managed notifications. So if you need to be notified for any particular reason, anytime anybody makes changes or anything. User access is who do I want to give access to my project. So I can grant access or I can deny access. So maybe one of your project members you've been working with is no longer on this project. You can come in here and actually deny that person access. I can also restrict users based on an email address. So if this is checked, I have to invite users by clicking on this plus sign up here and then sending them an email. Permissions tab actually allows me to set the project permissions. So that particular person or attendees, so I can create groups. Attendees is going to be anybody that's in this particular project. You may also create an admin group where maybe they have a little more permission level, a little higher permission level than others. And so you can decide how do you want them to, what kind of permissions do you want them to have on a project level versus a folder level, where you can actually say, hey, you know what, maybe this top folder is fine if they can go ahead and go in, but maybe the RFI folder, I want that to be hidden, or I want them to only be able to do, read or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. The project or the folder structure is very similar to File Explorer. It's designed to be that way so it's a little easier to use. Most people are familiar with that. For example, I can come in here to my airport project. I can come down here to Sheets. If I open that, you'll see many folder options in here. I can go ahead and click there on my architectural, or click on that, and you'll notice I have my PDFs in there that I can see. I can also, in my sheets, come down here, I have specifications. And so my spec sheets, I can click on that. But you'll notice there's a folder for Word. And so I can click on that and I can see Word documents. Now, if I try to open the Word document, it's actually going to launch Word. It's not going to allow me to open it in Revu because, again, Revu opens PDFs. Now, if I come up here to my PDFs, I can go ahead and open a file. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and grab this particular file here, and I'm just going to double click on it. When I double click on it, it's going to open it, and you'll notice that I have multiple things going on here. So I'm going to just, let's go ahead and minimize that panel so I can see more of my drawing. You'll notice this lock here. This lock means that this particular file is actually in read-only mode, so I can't go in and actually make any markups on it. You'll notice up here, all my markups are actually grayed out. I can click to my heart's content and it will not allow me to do it. Because again, it's not checked out to me, it's just simply a read-only option. Now I can come here and check out as long as I have that permission level. I can check this file out just by clicking on that lock. It'll check it out to me, and there it is. And now notice all of my markup tools are available. And so I can go in and I can add some clouds, and I can do whatever I need to with regards to this particular drawing and make any markup changes or anything I need to. When I'm done with it, I'm going to go ahead and check it back in. I can go back to that icon there, and I can just say check in. I can also update the server copy. Maybe I'm not quite done with it yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and check it in. And I'm going to add in my comments. Comments are really important. You know, so updated with some comments to review. And I can go ahead and check that back in. So comments are basically telling other people when they come to look at this what exactly was done with this particular file. So now it's checked back in. I got that lock again, and I can go in if I want to. I can click on that again and see the revision history, and I can see what the revision history is. And so there you see my latest one. When I'm done with a particular project, I can just go ahead and leave that project just by clicking that X up at the top, and now I'm no longer in that particular project. So now that we've seen the document management capabilities within Studio projects, let's take a look at Studio sessions for real-time collaboration. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Studio session icon up above, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the Getting Started with Review Studio session. As I mentioned before, Studio Sessions lets project teams review, markup, and update the same files at the same time, allowing partners worldwide to connect on the same set of documents. And you'll notice that I have some panels over here, and so I want to point out some of the options and things that are available in there. So you'll see that I'm in there. Here's my ID, my Studio Session ID, and you can see that there. My status is here, so I can set my status if I want to, so that way people can come in, they would know. They would see that status next to my name. So there's my name. If I had additional people in this particular session, which I don't currently, if I had additional people, you would see their names here as well. I could also go ahead and follow them. So next to every person's name would be an option to click on and to go ahead and follow that person. And so that way I could see what they're doing. They could see what I'm doing. As a host, if I click on my own follow option, it will actually send everyone else a little notification that says the host wants you to follow them. And so then I can get them to follow me, kind of get their attention. And so that's in the attendees. I can also add attendees if I want to, or invite attendees there, as well as see what the attendee access is. Now documents, I have the different documents that I put into this particular Studio session. So I can click on that document and I can go in and I can start marking up that document. And again, as I am putting markups on here, everyone that is logged in, no matter where they are, will be able to see it. I once did a Studio session with some of our co-workers in Bulgaria, and so completely other side of the world. And as I put markups in there, they were instantly able to see them. As they put them in, I was instantly able to see them. And so, again, real-time collaboration. So within the documents, the ability to add files if I want to. I can even sort them alphabetically. Add files, not everybody's going to necessarily have that ability because, again, we have settings that we can apply and make sure that whether they do or don't have the ability to add those. Down here at the bottom, you have 3 different tabs available. I have the record tab. The record tab is actually going to keep track of every single thing that happens on here. So if you keep an eye down here in the record tab, I'm going to go in and add a cloud. And so as I go in and add a cloud on these stairs here, you're going to see in that record field, Scott just added a cloud. And so that's going to show you that right there. And so again, everything as we're documenting it, we can do that. Another great thing within that record panel down there. So let's say I am looking at this Studio Architect here. And so I want to know if this is correct, for example. And so I'm looking at this. I have it zoomed in here in the chat field down below. I can go ahead and click on this and I can say, is this information correct? So I'm asking someone if it's correct. And I go ahead and press enter, and that chat is instantly added to that record as well. Now, as I do that, now I leave that area, and reading that in the chat, somebody may come in and say, what in the world is he talking about? Is what information correct? Maybe the cloud? What is he looking at? Well, they can click on my comment, and it will instantly take them to the same magnification that I was looking at. And so that chat field allows you to have chat, kind of like instant chat, and then it'll actually, whatever you click on will zoom into whatever they were looking at. So we have not only have a record tab, we have notifications tab, so any alerts that might happen, you can alert people of your markups. I can just go into the markup, I can right click on that markup, and I can alert attendees. I will not have the option to do that right now though, because there's nobody else to actually alert, so can't really do that. But if I had people in here, I could go ahead and right click on that markup, alert them to that markup, and then when they click on that notification, it would then take them right to where those are. And then pending, if I was working offline, it would allow me to go ahead and it'll keep track. Revu will keep track of everything I do offline, and then when I come back in, I can go ahead, it'll update automatically for me and put those things in there. Now the markups list within a studio session works exactly the same, so everything we talked about earlier. One important note though, when it comes to, or a couple important notes, when it comes to studio sessions, if someone else makes a markup, I cannot edit their markups. You cannot edit or change someone else's markups. What you can do to those markups is you can right click on those markups, you can reply to them, or you can change the status or set a status to them. And you can say, okay, I'm accepting that, or I'm canceling that or rejecting that. And you can reply with a simple message within the markups list, but you cannot edit or change or delete someone else's markups within studio sessions. Some quick final notes. Bluebeam Revu comes in 3 editions. We have standard for the essentials that you might need. We have CAD for CAD users, and we have Extreme for those complex process automations and digital collaboration. Revu for Mac is also available. You can visit bluebeam.com/revu for more information on that. We have plenty of additional training options, both free materials and customized paid training sessions. You can go ahead and email training@bluebeam.com or visit the training page at bluebeam.com as well. As I briefly mentioned earlier, we have user groups across the country. If you're interested in meeting other Bluebeam users in your local area to talk best practices and tips and tricks, go ahead and email communities@bluebeam.com. Now, we're going to be working on getting these questions answered for you before we log off today. But with that said, I would like to say thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you in an upcoming webinar soon. Take care, everyone.